Welcome back to A Closer Look. I'm Linda Fontaine. If you're just joining us, my guest today is Brickey. He is the info officer with the Kingsport Fire Department, and he is always a font of information. We were just talking about cooking and grease fires and different things like that. Now, October is Fire Prevention Month for Kingsport. I know around the country they usually have Fire Prevention Week, but we are extra safe around here. We have a whole month. Talk to me about that, Barry.
Well, this year's theme is Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen.
All right.
And it's always great to talk about kitchen fire safety, and we just touched on a few things a minute ago. Now, I'll give you a little history of why October is Fire Prevention Month. Back in 1871, on October 8th, the Great Chicago Fire happened, and more than 17,000 structures were burnt. There were 250 people that died. 100,000 people were homeless because of it. And so that, really put at the forefront of people's minds of, wow, maybe we should try to prevent this from happening. Yeah. And so that's when Fire Prevention Week kind of was thought about, and then it actually came into fruition later. And so every year since then, fire prevention has been a hot topic, and then the National Fire Protection Association was established, and they were able to bring in some standards to help, keep people from when they were building things and when you're practicing fire safety, some great tips. And so that's really where it comes from. The National Fire Protection Association marks every year when October comes up. The week of October 9th, whenever October 9th falls in a certain week, it's that week that's Fire Prevention Week.
That's pretty interesting. I like learning the history behind things like that. That is so cool. So what are some of the things we need to be extra mindful of right now with fire safety?
Well, we did talk a little bit about cooking, and I'm going to add a couple of other things. Making sure that while you're cooking, you can check it. Don't walk away and leave it. It is the #1 cause of home fires, and we do actually have Thanksgiving coming up very soon. And that is actually the #1 day for home fires in America.
Wow. Because there's extra cooking, I guess, going on.
Yeah, and so, people are cooking. Some of them probably shouldn't be cooking, but they're cooking. And, you need to make sure that you're watching what you eat, you stay with it, you don't walk away from it. And, in our day and age, there's a lot of things that can take our attention away. A cell phone or something might take our attention away from what we're doing. Maybe if it's actually Thanksgiving Day or a busy day and you've got family over, or maybe there's a game on or something and you're like, hey, what's the score? You're looking around the corner and you're not watching what you're cooking. And so, making sure that it's not going to be too hot to boil over, and then that way that something's not going to catch on fire. Keep that area clean, and then of course make sure you keep that lid close by, the one that fits it, or even a cookie sheet. That way, just like we talked about, if you were to have a fire, you were able to set that on top of it, then you reach back, turn the eye off, and then that way you've taken away the oxygen, and you've taken away the heat, and you've taken away 2 of the 3 things that a fire needs to happen, and the third would be the fuel. And so, making sure also that you're not wearing any loose-fitting clothing, long sleeves or something like that if you're near where something is cooking. It would be terrible to be cooking and, you've suddenly caught your cuff on fire or something like that. Also, if you have longer hair and you're leaning over checking out your food and maybe tasting or something, watch out. You don't want to get that on the eye, especially if you have like gas appliances, because you do have an open flame there and it can go really, really quickly.
That is great advice. And when I think about it, when you do go out to eat or people in restaurants, the cooks always have their hair pulled back, they're wearing aprons, and you don't see those long, beautiful, fashionable sleeves we all like to wear. So that's really good advice. Now, what else can you tell us about fire safety month?
Well, when
I keep wanting to
starting,
say week, but month.
That's okay, yeah. Like I said, most places only mark a week, but we actually mark the entire month of October, and we are a little bit different than other departments. We promote fire safety every single day of the year, and we're trying. Somebody actually asked me, "Are you trying to put the fire department out of business?" And I said, well, I would really like to not
Wouldn't
have
that
any
be
fires.
nice, actually?
And I said, but as long as we're serving people in the public, we'll need the fire department because things happen, and so we're going to always be needed.
I appreciate that you guys do that. And you guys do the Citizens Fire Academy. And I love saying that I did that one year. And it was a great experience for me. And I wish you guys could do that this year. But I know because of the pandemic, it's something you weren't able to do. But if more people could do that and really learn about what it is you guys do. And it's so complex, some of these fires. It really was an education for me. I really appreciated it.
Well, we were happy to have you there and others that are citizens here in Kingsport. And I think the night that we did the live burn, I think that really shocked people of how quickly a fire can grow and how quickly it can spread inside of a home. Now, we were talking before the show, you said the apartment that you live in or the loft you live in has a sprinkler system, which is fantastic. If you were to have a fire, after about 30 seconds of that fire flaming, it's actually going to set off the sprinkler that is closest to the fire and either contain it completely or put it out before we would even arrive, which is awesome. Now, you did see the live burn that we did that day, and we took a small room and had a couch, had a chair, a table, lamps, and some things hanging on the wall. And in just about 2.5 minutes, that was an inferno. We hit what was called flashover. It was right around about 1,000 to 1,200 degrees. But if you have a sprinkler system inside your home, the home sprinkler system, it's going to put it out.
I was shocked. I mean, it was just as much as a candle falling over or something that fell onto the candle. And within, like you said, within 3 minutes, the whole place was engulfed in flames.
Now, also in that room, if you'll remember, we had a smoke alarm.
Yes.
And it didn't take very long for the smoke to set that alarm off. And then about 1.5 minutes into the fire, the smoke alarm quit because it actually melted off the wall. That's how hot it was. And the fire wasn't even on that side of the room because the smoke is almost as hot as the fire is. And so it's very important that we do have working smoke alarms. Whenever you're thinking about, maybe when you're paying your bills or something, it's a great time to check your alarms every month. Smoke alarms, they'll detect and alert everybody to make sure that they know that there's a fire. And, you know, it could be the difference between life and death. Working smoke alarms, they'll cut your risk in dying in half. And you need to make sure that you have smoke alarms in every single bedroom, outside of the sleeping areas, each den or living room. Now, you would not put one inside your kitchen because you can have false alarms. You would put it at least 12 feet away from your kitchen. And also, you need to make sure that everyone knows what to do if there is a fire. I saw a video just the other day. A family was celebrating the birthday of their 85-year-old father, and someone had lit a candle and they had the window open and the curtain blew over and it caught on fire. He was sitting there. I think he may have had some dementia and some other problems. He didn't recognize the flames coming up the curtain on the wall. And then one of the family members came in and screamed fire, and the first thing he did was get up and walk toward the fire thinking he's going to put it out, and she's trying to get him out of the home. And you know, they didn't have a sprinkler system, and then the house wound up being a total loss. And they were there, they were awake when it happened.
Well, that scares me too, because I have a blind member of my family. And so, you know, that would be really scary if you don't know which direction to go.
Yeah, knowing what you should do if there's a fire. Of course, having a home escape plan is the best. If you have kids or older adults in your home, it's always good to get with everybody in the home and practice it. Set off the alarm, that way they know what it sounds like, and then say, hey, if you're here, go this way. If you're in this room, you need to go this way. You should always have at least 2 ways out of every single room. Now, that might be the doorway down the hall to the front door, but if there's a fire in the hall, it might be going to the window. And so you need to make sure that everybody knows how to do that. If you have small children, babies, or if you have an adult or someone who might need a little bit of help getting out, that's part of your plan too. And they need to know who's going to help them and how they're going to get out. And then you need to make sure that everybody goes to the meeting place outside. That way, when we arrive, everybody's accountable. Like, oh, everybody's here. That means that we can concentrate on putting that fire out instead of search and rescue.
That's great. Great advice. So cooking, that's my biggest concern. That's what I worry about most. And it's worth saying again that Thanksgiving is the most dangerous time of year, especially with people frying turkeys too. That's a big thing.
Yeah, that can be a dangerous thing for people to do, especially if they don't cook a lot. A lot of times they'll get their flames up too high, or they'll overload the pot with the oil in it. And then whenever they put the turkey in there, maybe the turkey's not thawed out completely, maybe it's not been wiped down and dried off, because if you put moisture inside that really hot oil, it's going to evaporate and make it splash and things. And also, if the pot is a little overloaded, you need to make sure you know about the displacement of that turkey, because if you put a big turkey inside that pot and it's too high, it's going to overflow and then cause a really big fire.
Let's touch base real quick on heaters, space heaters. I know that can be a pretty big danger around here too.
Yeah, it can be. And if you are going to use any alternate heat, like a regular space heater, kerosene heater, anything like that, you should have a 3-foot area around it where nothing is allowed in that that's going to be flammable. That includes your sock feet and your pajamas and things like that. Also your pets and things. Also, if you're going to use a heater, make sure it's the type that if it were to tip over, that it turns it off. And that's really important. But if you use any other type of heating, maybe it's a fireplace or a wood burning stove, you need to have, right now would be a great time to have that chimney or the flue inside checked out. Make sure it doesn't have a lot of creosote built up in it, and that way it can draft the air out really well and remove the smoke from the house while you're using it. And we suggest having a professional come and do that.
So a chimney sweep, how often should someone do that? Like once a year, once every couple of years? I guess it probably depends on how often you use your fireplace, right?
Well, yeah, I really would suggest, if you think you're going to use it, to have it checked. Because I know of times that have happened when, oh, we haven't used that in a while, and maybe a couple of years, and we're going to use it now. And they don't realize that maybe a family of squirrels has built a nest inside or something like that. And so you need to make sure it's good and cleaned out and in good working order before you use it.
Okay, so let's go over one more time websites and information people can check out to get more information on fire safety.
Well, if people would like to find out some great information, and especially if you have kids, you can go to sparky.org. That's Sparky the Fire Dog. Sparky.org or nfpa.org/public-education. And then you can learn a whole lot about different types of fire safety, everything from electric cars to your home to fireplaces. And if you still have questions, you can call us at the Kingsport Fire Marshal's office at 423-229-9440.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you so much. Always such good information for us. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back this time next week with another edition of A Closer Look. Have a wonderful week.